So much time has passed since Toki was taken. They left no trace of him, of this I'm not mistaken. His man, his abductor, with a silver face, freakish deadly demon, bastard a disgrace. Born and left alone, never knew his mother, who was killed during birth, but left him a brother. Together they would train and kill those that cross his path. His brother died in Morehouse and now he blames the band, so
we have our best men on it. What else are we supposed to do?
we must track him, we must find him, we must rescue him. We are running out of time, we must track him, we must find him, we must rescue him. We are running out of time. If we don't hurry up, we just might die.
Report from the field, information for thee that we've hired the best man to find the abductee. He's the best tracker that is known around and has exceptional equipment, both sight and sound. He was raised by wolves, he can kill with his teeth, he can blend into shadows, he can hide in a tree. If he cannot fight Toki, then nobody can. I'm telling you, sire, this is our man.
That's good. Where is he?
He's dead.
Oh, throw him in the garbage.
Don't throw him away, there's more we can do. The dead can sometimes talk and offer us a clue.
Sire, there's a drive hid within this dead man's torso. We can play this video on the main computer console.
I see what you're doing and you're trying to kill me. Well, I won't let that happen, cause I still got Toki. If you send another man, we will kill her and he. I'll be waiting here for death in the depths of humanity.
They have the upper hand. I failed at my work, and I failed this band.
You mustn't worry, my friend, for you see there's an answer. I know what we have to do. Gentlemen, I must speak to you on behalf of the Church of the Black Clock. My words will never be as weighty as they are right now. This is a challenge for you. I already don't like the sound of this. Many years from now, you'll know this moment was the one that proved your spirit.
so well.
But you blew the last part.
Oh, you were so very close.
But it all fell apart.
And it's time for you to go.
But before you leave, you must understand that nobody's ever made me place this wells. Therefore, I want you in this band.
Magnus has been kicked out of the band. I think the four of us understand that. We gotta make a record, gotta make it great. It's our very first one, must annihilate. Since we fired the man, we are short one honest. We need to fill the void, we need a guitarist, but it's gotta fit right, gotta be the right vibe, and it's gotta fucking rock because we all dead class.
I disagree, for you see, we don't need nobody else. This was based on one guitar band. Kilted deeds, ain't nobody's good as me. Collapse my speed and conquers me.
Look at all these hopeful auditioners, oh, they came from so far away. But if you show them that you are the best, then yes, you may have your way. If you hack them all into pieces with your mighty shredding axe, then we will forever from this moment on be a four piece. Then you will be the only guitarist of Death Row.
Alright.
Cause it's now you're going stone. Take one more. This ends a war. Cause it's now you're going stone. Going stone. Yeah.
I am a wizard, I am a sorcerer, and I've proven to this world that we don't need nobody's. We am the one guitar band. Yes, indeed. You have been bested by the master. Bow before your glowing guitar god. Someone keeps on knocking, someone's at the door. Let them in right now. There's to be one more. I'm sorry, I got lost along the way. My name is Toki. I am just a boy here from Norway. I'm so sad, I miss my auditions, appointments, 2 days. But I think that you should give me a chance anyhow, because I have this feeling. Something tells me this was meant to be. Do you feel this electricity? Gives me this chance. Alright, you seem so nice, it's a shame you must go down this way.
Critics and audiences agree. The Equalizer 2 is smart, stylish, and exhilarating.
That's right.
Denzel Washington delivers again.
Guilty as charged.
The Equalizer 2, rated R, now playing.
People do bad things, and sometimes you get a chance to set it right. You killed my friend, so I'm going to kill each and every one of you. And the only disappointment, that I only get to do it once.
The Equalizer 2, rated R.
ingredients don't come with instructions. You just gotta know how to put that shit together.
Glowing clouds, the diamond's birth.
I'm scared, Professor Dumbledore.
Everyone is scared.
Young, the mountains green, no stain yet on the moon was seen. No words were laid on stream or stone when Durin woke and walked alone. He named the nameless hills and dells. He drank from yet untasted wells. He stooped and looked in mirror and saw a crown of stars appear as gems upon a silver thread above the shadows of his head. The world is grey, the mountains old, the forge's fire is ashen cold. No harp is rung, no hammer falls, the darkness dwells in Durin's halls. The shadow lies upon his tomb, in Moria, in Khazad-dûm. But still the sunken stars appear in dark and endless pyramid. There lies his crown in water deep, till Durin wakes again from sleep.
Shift the glasses, crank the plates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. So carefully, carefully with the plates. Blunt the knives and bend the forks. Smash the bottles, burn the corks. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. So carefully, carefully with the plates.
The dwarves of yore made mighty spells, while hammers fell like ringing bells, in places deep where dark things sleep, in hollow halls beneath the fells. Goblets they carved there for themselves, and harps of gold where no man delves. There lay they long, and many a song was sung unheard by man or elves. For ancient king and elvish lord, there many a gleaming golden hoard they shaped and wrought, and light they caught, to hide in gems on hilt of sword. On silver necklaces they strung the flowering stars, on crowns they hung the dragon fire in twisted wire. They meshed the light of moon and sun. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flaming spread. The trees like torches blazed with light. The bells were ringing in the dale. The men looked up with faces pale. The dragon's ire, more fierce than fire, laid low their towers and houses frail. The mountains smoked beneath the moon. The dwarves, they heard the tramp of doom. They fled their hall to dying fall, beneath his feet, beneath the moon.
We must away ere break of day to win our hearts and gold from him.
The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said. The chances, the changes are all yours to make. The mold of your life is in your hands to break. The greatest adventure is there if you're bold. Let go of the moment that life makes you hold. To measure the meaning can make you delay. It's time you stop thinking and wasting the day. The man who's a dreamer and never takes leave, who thinks of a world that is just make-believe, will never know passion, will never know pain. Who sits by the window will one day see rain. The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said. The chances, the changes are all yours to make. The mold of your life is in your hands to break. The greatest adventure is what lies ahead.
Don't be shy. Get up and do your stuff. Do it, baby, yeah.
lost of yore was near Rodin, and in the mountain straight the elven ship in haven gray beneath the mountain lee awaited her for many a day beside the roaring sea. A wind by night in northern lands arose and loud it cried and drove the ship from Melbourne strand across the streaming tide.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Whew. I believe I'm the only one left in the office, so I thought I'd turn on the microphone and see how you fine folks are doing. Oof. Yeah, just getting some paper animation done today. It's not the most thrilling, particular type of thing to animate, but I don't get to animate that much these days, so it is a welcome distraction. Hey, how's everybody doing? Look, everyone's still in here. That's lovely. So what's everyone up to this fine Sunday? I suppose for many of you it's the evening at this point. For me it is still the afternoon. That's decently late, I suppose. we go. It depends. Like we have a lot more people working here at Powerhouse now than we used to. When I first started doing all this kind of stuff, you know, I mean, I think I joined the studio back when I had around 20 to 30 employees, and now we're over 80 in this studio alone. So simply by just having like more people around. Hey, Steiny, welcome. Simply by having just more people around, I think, results in more people being around while I'm working. Basically, they're nice enough to kind of allow me to work on personal projects and freelance and stuff as long as it doesn't compete or, you know, threaten anything at the actual studio. So, you know, I can't work for Titmouse while I'm here, or on like anything that like our clients are doing without clocking in for whatever the job code is, you know. But, you know, my own little freelance gigs, things that, like, obviously Powerhouse would never bid on in the first place, they're pretty okay with it. They're very cool at this place. And I'm quite grateful for that. I don't really have a great computer at home. It would take a lot to get the same setup that I have here, so there's definitely like a hardware thing going on for that. So that's definitely one reason. The other is, you know, it's nice to have a space that you can kind of designate as a work area. Kind of tricks the mind into thinking, you know, it's you're putting yourself in a space to kind of force your subconscious to not be in weekend mode, you know? I do not know what I'm doing with this. I think it should look like that, yeah. Yeah. Hey, Kira. It's going just fine. I should be finishing up with this shot soon, I hope. Just doing a fair amount of paper animation right now is... I got most of the hard stuff done. I'm on the easy bits now, like the paper. Uh-oh. Think it's loading. Oh, there it goes. Oh, well, we're actually, yeah, we're almost done with the paper. I just need to get it to this location down here. And then Emilio is going to get angry and he's going to smack it, and then he's going to grab it and kind of whoosh, and it's going to kind of come by the screen. I was thinking of doing like a transition with that or something. Oh, faring as well as I can be, which is pretty good. You know, all the various projects we got going on, I've been tinkering away at, looking at what my fellow artists are producing and all that good stuff. Did you put that redacted in there, or did YouTube automatically do that? Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, you can say her name. It's Jen. She's amazing at it. No, yeah, she's doing a fantastic job. I'm really super stoked. Oh, that feels better. No, it's yeah. I almost feel bad like doing draw overs and stuff on our work because like I don't know if I can do better comedic timing or anything. I have the images in my head and it's like, oh okay, I think I know what I want, but then her work's so strong that it like, puts that into doubt. I'm like, maybe I should just leave it as is. What specifically would you like to know about the line work? It's if you're trying to do it in Animate, what I do is I use a smoothing at around 30, 33 smoothing with the second to smallest brush size. That is what I use. What are we to do? This is true, Space Dad. They're all looking really amazing. Well, it's Spencer, so of course it's going to be pretty. I like how I can begin to spot his work. I mean, not begin, like I've been able to do it for a while now, but like it's just fun being able to like spot his stuff in various episodes and things like that. You know? Yeah, a lot of people like that. And yeah, like, yeah, it's. I mean, no, yours is a different story because you actually did the first draft. Like, Jen did all the stuff on the first draft for our project, so. Let's do this. Let's make this bigger. There we go. Goes to. Oop, gotta load. Zatai Absolute Discord. Oh, I don't even know what the hell that is. Portfolio, a place like Powerhouse Animation would be looking for. Well, if you're looking for animation, Portfolio might be the last thing that you want to do. We're looking for like demo reels. And it depends on what you're applying for. If you're applying for series work, well, look at what we're doing. We're doing things like, you know, Castlevania and a couple of the other shows. So if that's what you're applying for, you can basically glean from those shows the type of work that we're looking for. And then if you're applying to the boutique department, well, boutique is very much focused on how am I going to say this? Like variety, basically. We want to see that you have variety and that you have good draftsmanship and that you work professionally. So clean work, work that is on top of layouts and has backgrounds. No, you know, if it's a pencil test, it needs to be a real clean pencil test, stuff like that. Ooh. I should check that out. I like Sakuga. I'm a fan of their work. That's a joke. Yeah, it does. I'd be up for that. I say it would be awesome if it was actually about, you know, study and stuff like that. Sometimes groups like that can be full of people who are who have an affinity for those type of things, but you know, I've been on more than one that just evolves into like fan art and you know, oh, did you read this manga and that kind of stuff. And it's like me, I'm kind of strictly interested in the animation study part of things. This is feeling alright, dude. Alright, so we need to start widening this out again. There we go. Yeah. It's not easy either way, for sure. So it creates, you know, it requires a lot of time and effort, and a lot of us don't have that much time. You know, we're a lot of us are craftsmen who are also working on a variety of projects, and you know, our time is valuable and often scarce. So we can't really devote the time needed to, you know, curate something like that. I mean, I already have a Discord that I run, and it's strictly business, you know. Like, and, you know, I don't need to do that much in that Discord, and that's, like, enough for me. What are our challenges? That sounds interesting. Yeah. See how this paper's feeling so far. It's okay. It's serviceable, I think, at the moment. I think the important thing is that it looks good while it's in frame. So I don't really need to worry about the out-of-frame stuff. Let's give it a save and a render and take a look-see. Boom. Yeah, I wanted to kind of play around with where I put ones and stuff like that. It's not as formulaic as it could be. So it kind of like it goes really fast right here. Like I think like most people would probably slow down this part, where it kind of cushions or eases into that top frame. I wanted to kind of get it out of there quick, and I wanted right here. See how he's kind of pulling his head forward? I wanted to have those move at the same time. And I think that adds a nice texture and layering to the animation where his head goes whoosh, whoosh, like that. So it's like a 1-2. 1-2? Yeah. I think we have someone who's either... I think we have a couple people who are not of drinking age yet. Obviously, I'm not going to divulge their names. And again, it's simply... I'm just assuming. But I think we have one or two who probably aren't of drinking age yet. So yeah, possibly one or two who may be 18 or 19. We do have some young folks here who work at the studio. You know, it's all based on can you do the work, you know? That's what we care about. Are you professional? Are you nice? Are you know, fun to work with? Do you take direction well? You know, these are all skills that I think, like I don't know, for some reason it's not really taught in school that much. Schools, from my experience, and I've only been to like, I think a few art schools, but in my experience there's a lot of focus on, you know, oh, what's your voice, right? What's your artistic voice? And what's like your style, not like your style, but like what do you have to say, right? An artist has to say something. They can't just be a good draftsman or a craftsman. They have to have some sort of statement, which is fine. You know, working with concepts like that is a good way to visualize metaphor, which is a lot of, especially if you're getting to like visual development, that's really important. But not a lot of schools seem to focus on working in a professional environment. And that's important. You know, you need to be good to work with. You need, if your supervisor comes over and they say, hey, you're taking too long on this, or you need to work on the hands here. I don't want the hands drawn like this. I want the hands drawn like that, or whatever it is. It's important to, one, not get your ego caught up in it. You know, some people get frustrated with that. And they're like, well, like, maybe the way I know is better. It's like, doesn't matter if the way you know is better. What matters is what the director wants, because they're in charge of driving the production, where it goes, how it's going to get done, scheduling, things like that. And if you are butting heads with them on small things that don't really matter, you're slowing down the production and the timeline for everybody. So being good to work with, taking direction well, If you have issues, you fix them. You know, and I was kind of one of those when I first started. You know, I had a bit of an ego, and things got a lot easier for me when I just started saying yes and will do and stuff like that. And I, you know, I just put my effort into trying to get those done. You know, so that's I think I'm relatively easy to work with now, definitely easier than I was, because yeah, director comes over and they say, hey Patrick, I want you to do this, this and this, and I go okay, and then I do it. Like, for someone who's directing a piece, that's nice. They enjoy that. It's like, oh my god, I can just tell this guy to do something and he does the thing I want. It's like, well, there you go. So that's really important. Obviously, your skills are important, but also how you present your skills. It's one thing to know your anatomy. It's another way. It's another thing to draft it well, draft it clean. You know, I work pretty clean. My stuff is legible. That's a big thing. Can the person the viewer read what you're doing, even in rough form? Which, you know, obviously really helps out if you're doing boards and stuff. And I don't know. I think a lot of students get it in their head that, like, the professional... I think because, again, I think it's because it's taught so divorced from school. It's not like a part of school. It's this thing after school. After you're done going to classes and stuff, then you are a professional. It's not like a gradual transition. It's this stark change. And I think because of that, it's mystified and it's kind of mythologized a little bit. the studio job, you got your first studio job and all that kind of stuff, which is great. And a lot of people, I think, learn much more once they get their first studio job than they do in school. And I think, from my perspective, I think that's kind of a failure of our education system. I don't think that should be the case. So what I'm trying to say is, because I'm kind of rambling, what I'm trying to say is that, like, yeah, don't try to think of your first studio job as this holy grail. It's important to get it. It's important to get your foot in the door. But you should treat it like a job and be a professional about it. And being professional is, like I said, it's about being good to work with, being timely, you know, being able to schedule things properly. It's about being nice, you know, and you don't have to be super nice. You know, there's plenty of people I work with or have worked with who basically just, you know, they just want to come in and do their work and go home. They don't talk very much. They don't really come out to a lot of events, but you know, they're nice when you say hi, and they get their work done, and that's important. That's the important thing. So keep that stuff in mind when you want to you know, go into the workplace as an artist, a craftsman, which is a term that I use more than artist, because artisan again implies, like, you know, I'm here to you know, ask important questions, and some people are just like, no, I want to do really beautiful artwork, and I can do it for you for a fair amount of money. And you can have a statement too, right? Like, but it doesn't have to be one or the other. Yeah, it is. Yeah, like, the pedestal thing is bad just because it becomes intimidating then. What do I do? Like, a lot of kids get scared and they don't apply. because they're worried about making a bad first impression on their first job, or you know, if I don't get this one, then I'm screwed. And it's like, no, man, it's just work. Well, we prefer action shots because we don't do a lot of dialogue. Disney or DreamWorks or someone, they might be looking for more dialogue stuff because they do more dialogue. It's really that simple. If you want to work for a studio, look at what they do. Do they do motion comics? Do they do action stuff? Do they, you know, are their characters simple? Are they complex? Do they outsource their animation? Do they do it all in-house, right? So, oh, hey, here's this studio that's like an outsourcing studio for Nickelodeon. They do a lot of cartoony boards and simple animation, but I bet they have some tight deadlines. So maybe I should show them really clean professional work that's still cartoony, fun, and kind of economic. There you go. Oh, Powerhouse Animation. We do crazy action series stuff, and we also do, you know, commercials and motion comics. So what job are you applying for, right? I mean, saying no may not always be about your work, too. Saying no may be like, oh, well, we found another person who is closer, right? That's a thing. You know, being either willing to move or being nearby. The position may have already been filled, or the position may have been lost, right? They may have been hiring for a job that fell through, and so that position doesn't exist anymore. I don't know anyone personally at Rooster Teeth. I've conversed with a couple. It's weirdly divided, Powerhouse and Rooster Teeth. It's not like, you know, I think we've worked with each other on a few projects. It's just Austin is a city that is divided north and south because we only have a couple of highways that go north and south, and I believe Rooster Teeth is really south. What that means is that, like, we up here in the north don't go south because of the traffic, and those in the south don't go north because of the traffic, right? We just, you know, if I'm going down south, it becomes a day trip. So, there's that. So sadly, I haven't really interacted with them that much. There is RTXs coming up, though, so I may be interacting more if I can. Oop, sorry. There you go. Yeah. What the hell was that noise? Oh. There it goes. Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said about not necessarily being the squeaky wheel, but about like, you know, we've had issues before about employees who are like, oh, they're working with a damaged Cintiq or something, and like they don't want to raise a stink about it. It's like, no, man, like we want you to be working in the most efficient environment possible. Like, Cintiq doesn't cost that much. Like, we'll handle it. It's fine. You're not asking too much of your employer. Yeah. Now, this isn't to say that like every work environment is perfect. You know, there may be some where that isn't a problem, but for the most part, you know, this is a collaborative medium. So we tend to, in general, be as far as like animators are concerned, a group of people who are relatively easy to work with, kind people who work well in groups, because you have to be in order to work in this industry. Well, you don't have to be, but most are. And that is also very true, Stunny, yeah. I mean, if you want to do stuff like Powerhouse does, you're talking about like the really high action stuff, you're gonna need to do some study on anime. You know, look at like a lot of like Naruto animations, things like that, and try to replicate it. The faces and the hands tend to be the hardest. You know, I mean, I still struggle with the faces. That's something that, you know, so I can't say what it is, but Michael, India, Tibbs, like they've all been doing this really awesome project. And this project has kind of an anime main character, and I was just like looking at some of the animation, and I was really stunned because they were able to, you know, animate that face. He had a very like anime face and rotate it in dimension and stuff, and like that's something that I still struggle with. I just don't understand how people do it. I have some weird hitch in my system that makes me draw really bad anime faces. And I watch my peers and I watch others do it so well, I just don't understand it. I'm still working on it. I'll figure it out eventually, but boy, it takes a lot of... I've thought about it. I like to cook a lot. I thought about going to culinary school at one point and just like, I don't know, trying that. Hello, Alex. This is true. It'll be awesome for a little bit, I imagine, then it'll probably get stale pretty quick. That's my assumption. It's, you know, every once in a while I'll do one of those things where like I'll get really tired of kind of doing what I'm doing, or you'll get that kind of sense of feeling trapped. Right? A lot of people get that feeling where they're like, oh, like, I'm gonna be doing this forever, I don't want to do this forever. What am I doing? Am I even good at this? That kind of stuff. But if animation is your passion, what's going to happen is you're going to not do it for a while, you're going to enjoy the rest, and then you're going to get antsy again. And you're going to get twitchy, and you're going to want to start doing it all over again. Because that's why we get into it. You don't get an animation because of its... what's the word I'm looking for? Like, what's the allure of animation? It's definitely not the glamour of it, I suppose. It's a craft, and it's a craft that we have a passion for because we are... it's like breathing for us. If you don't do it, it becomes stifling. At least that's how it is for me. At least, like if I'm not animating, I start suffocating basically. There we go. Alright, now we've got ourselves some animation. To add another layer on there. Boop, boop. Sure, Alex. This is for yeah, sorry, Space Dad. This is for my film. This particular animation, which is called My Dad the Giant. You might see me post about it on Twitter every now and then. All right. Well, we have a fair amount of the paper animation done, which is nice. Working on a big project. Oh yes, scope creep is handled by your director, thankfully. So if you do end up getting 10 more frames, it's not your fault. No, yeah, locked timing is an interesting scenario. Sometimes it can be tough because you might want to do more, but you don't have the time for it. But at the same, but also, like you said, it doesn't allow you to scope creep, so it kind of helps you stay on task. Hey, that feels pretty good. Yeah, scope creep. It's actually something that's plagued this project. Oh, Kira, too long. Far too long. Almost a decade at this point. But it's only sort of being reanimated once I think it was like 2013, 15, somewhere on there. Started reanimating it. Well, India, of all the projects, I think yours has got a pretty decent budget. And I still think that, like, as epic as it is, and as amazing as it is, you guys are still gonna be fine. Honestly, I think the one that we're both animating on, that's the one I'm worried about scope creep with, just because there's so many crowd shots in that thing. Alright, so I've got about 40 or so frames left. Okay, so he's smacking this. Ooh, he misses it. That's unfortunate. Why? Oh, damn it, damn it, damn it. I could either adjust his hand, or I could put the page somewhere else. Okay, what we'll do is we'll scoot this page up to about there. And then we'll simply make our, we'll have to kind of like adjust our arc again. There we go. Yeah, that feels fine. And then he will smack it right dab there in the middle. Perfect. Thank you, India. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, so boop. He's gonna kind of like, just gonna be kind of wrinkling it in because he's smacking it so hard here. Oh, that's a loaded question. It's so basically you're keeping track of a variety of things. Any piece of paper has got 4 corners, right? It's got 4 segments and a plane, which is made up of those. So I track the arcs of the corners. I track the S and C curves of the segments. So, you know, if I just put on my onion skin, you're going to see this. Okay, here we go. Now let's find something. Okay, so here's where it's like, here it is, rotating. I'm gonna use a red here so you can see what I'm doing. So you can see that the corner, you know, it's doing that. This corner's doing this, and eventually this corner is going to do that. So these corners are all kind of coming around. So if this piece of paper is rotating as it's going this way, and then the plane is shortening, you know, so I have a lot of things to follow where it's like, you know, it's going from this, and then the corners are rotating and it's kind of facing out. Now it's really facing out, see how it's still rotating, and then it's going to keep doing that, but it's going to start flattening out. Boop. Boop, you know, so you've got that where the corners are kind of doing this this kind of loop-de-loop thing, right? Yeah, you know, so they're all kind of crossing each other. On top of that, then you have like, okay, so we have this segment, right? Well, if this corner is leading and kind of pulling it up here, well, then this is going to kind of be a C curve, right? And then at some point, the corner is going to be going down this way, and you're going to get that nice S curve, right? Boop, do, and that's going to get pulled down. And so, yeah, that's basically it. And you can do it like this, where everything's kind of curved. Or a lot of what I'm doing is also, I just take that curve, I take that S curve, and I just make it into segments. And there, that's how you get paper folds. It's kind of like an advanced version of the leaf. Like this is one of the reasons why the leaf fall is so important for animators, because it teaches you to follow a lot of the stuff. The leaf, I think, isn't really that cool of a shape. I guess like the leaf is cool because it's, yeah, you have like this, and then it can, you know, it can have the folds that come up. It can be different planes. You can make all sorts of shapes with it. So the leaf, I can see that, why that would happen. But I think a 4-corner paper is also perfectly fine to use for that, you know. And then you just add in things like, oh, well, I want this piece of paper to come up here. So that's the whole, like, you know, so the corner is going up as this is going down, causing that piece of paper to overlap. See, now this is facing out like this. Yeah, and so this is all the stuff that you can think about, and it's mainly when I'm going back and I'm double checking my work that I'll focus on each one of those aspects at a time. So I'll be like, oh, okay, let's take time to double check my animation. What's first? Let's take a look at the corners. Are the corners following their arcs, right? And you step through and you follow, you know, I'll focus on one corner and I'll be like, oh, well, it's rotating here, and I'll look for jumps in the arc. And then I'll be like, all right, the segments, this thing's, you know, here's, you can see some segments here where I'm getting the C curve, right? And then eventually it's going to become an S curve when it comes back down. You know. And all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, for this film in particular, because my film isn't really about economic animation, it's kind of about extravagant animation. The animation is kind of intentionally not using symbols and cheats and stuff. Yeah, you know, like it's... And once you know this stuff, then you can play around with the cheats and stuff like that, right? And it'll make your ability to use cheats more sophisticated. You know, because I know the arcs that I want to follow, because I know how I want a plane to rotate and stuff. Then if I'm using a symbol or something, even though I'm using a symbol to try to achieve the same goal, I know what I want my end product to look like, and I know what to follow. So because my perception is on point, my application, it doesn't matter as much which tool I'm using, if I'm doing it fast or if I'm doing it intricately. It's all going to end up being influenced by my ability to perceive and project what I want out of my animation. Yeah. And I feel like you understand that to a degree too. You know, like it's... I don't want to sound like I'm dispensing knowledge that no one else knows, right? I put a lot of effort into wording things in a specific way. I try to be very specific with what I say and what terms I use. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of people already know what I'm talking about. They just may not have put it into words. I think like the only kind of outlier, the only aspect of it where I'm kind of more of an outlier compared to a lot of my peers is that I focus a lot on like, why is this working? Not just that it works. Not just that the 9 old men said to do this. But how come? Why did they choose a flour sack? What's the importance of using a flour sack versus a potato or a bouncing ball or blah, 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 you know? Why is it that a lot of Japanese animation is so much more intricate than a lot of Western animation, right? How come? And sometimes I don't know, but then I try to figure it out. That could be faster. Yeah. Uh-oh. It's loading. Yeah, it's, you know, I think that there's this conception that art, animation, is like a field similar to, I don't know, like when you're a professional, you know, I use the term craftsman a lot. You're not an artist, you're a craftsman. But that being said, there's a lot of different ways that you can craft your animation. And maybe not as many ways to perhaps build a cabinet, right? A lot of cabinetry and stuff like that, it's pretty much the same method over and over again. So you can be instinctual, you can be like an engineer, you can be more of a researcher, scientific about it, but in the end you are crafting motion. So I'm more of an engineer. I like to take things apart, figure out how they work, and then try to recreate that, and hopefully learn something from that process. That's how I approach it. But that's not how everybody approaches it. A lot of people, like I said, they can. There's a lot of people who are very instinctual about the process. Glenn Keane is, you know, one of the best animators of his generation, and he is very instinctual. He just kind of feels things out. But my goal has always been to have kind of like a full understanding of things. So, you know, in the end, you need to find what the best way to learn is for you. Excuse me, for you. What works best for your learning method. I don't know. I think that makes sense. I'm kind of just going off the cuff right now, like, so if I'm rambly and I don't make a lot of sense, feel free to ask me to clarify something, and I'd be more than happy to, because I'm really just ad-libbing at this point, and you know, as I work on this paper animation. Well, thank you. personally not a fan of. That's hard to say because, like, a lot of animation styles, it depends a lot on the execution. You know, like, immediately was like, oh, well, you know, I tend to be lavish with my animation projects. I put a lot of effort into the motion. It's like, oh, well, maybe economic animation. Is there a type of economic animation where it's, like, cheaply made that I might not like? But when I think about it, you know, there's a lot of, like, really, like, flash puppety stuff that's gorgeous. And really well done, and you can admire the skill it takes to produce that, to do it in that way. Kind of a mixture of hand-drawn and puppet. It's a lot of, you know, a lot of 3D animation can get extraordinarily subtle, especially with, like, acting assignments, things like that. That's very difficult to do with hand-drawn, just by the nature of the medium. Stop motion, oh, I love it. Yeah, I don't know, there's not really an animation style that bugs me, because it's like there's not like a type of paint that bugs me, because it's just the medium at which you use. You know, again, like I was saying, like a great animator can do economic animation, and a great animator can do very intricate animation. I will say one thing that does, like, hurt me to watch is an animation done with a very bad rig. That can be painful. I don't feel like that's the animator's fault, but there's a lot of, like, animation where it's like, oh, this person spent a lot of time doing this gorgeous 3D hyper-realistic model, and then there's, like, a really cheap rig in there and they don't have animation experience, and then you get this weird juxtaposition of something that's hyper-realistic that's moving, you know, like a coked up zombie. For lack of a better term. So if I had to choose something that's, like, painful for me to watch, it's that. But, you know, again, also, like, bad models, that can happen too. It just makes me sadder when it's on a nice model. Yeah, so if there's any animation I don't like, it's lazy animation that's like, oh, this person just, like, didn't care. But at the same time, I can kind of understand, right? Like, usually, most animators care about their animation, right? And oft times when you see a really bad animation, it's because there was no budget and no time. And they're like, hey, you, this animator guy, can you complete 34 shots in 3 days? And he's like, no. And it's like, cool, well, it's due by Wednesday. And then they have to do it, and then it comes out really bad, and then whoever put them up to that task is basically like, hey, that works, that's all we wanted. So yeah, I mean, there's an art to rigging, as there's an art to everything. There's things I don't like. There's gotta be. If we're talking about illustration style, I don't know if it's a good or a bad show. I know it's been along for a long time, but what's it called? One Piece. Those designs give me a heart attack. Like, they give me aneurysms. It's something about them bugs me, and I don't know if I can quantify it for you. but if I had to choose like a style that really bugs me, every time I see one of those on Sakuga, and there's lots on Sakuga, I have a little mini aneurysm. No, it's something about the designs. It's the visual style. I just the various whatever the concept art model sheet stuff is. It bugs the hell out of me. Which again doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it or that I think it's a bad show, because I can't say that because I haven't actually watched an episode. All I can say is that I do not like how that show looks. Yeah, I haven't a clue what you're talking about, because I haven't watched a single episode. I've just seen it on Sakuga. All right, let's see how this paper feels. It's okay. It's good. I'll put that on a 2 at the end. All right. Boop and enter. I think that might be the paper animation for today. Look at that. Oh, it looks like it's actually not quite done. Looks like there's... I don't want it to just jump out of frame like that, so let's add another. First, let's... There we go. There we go. Oh, thank you, India. Yeah, it was fun. Let's see if I can get to it. Here's my boink. Boink. You can see how when it rests, if you watch this, this outer edge here, right? This edge. You'll watch and it kind of goes out. So I kind of stretch it a little bit. So it goes come wrestling down, there's the edge, and you can see it in the onion skinning how it comes out and then in for a frame. You got a little bit of overlap. So right here you can see that edge is going out and this edge is going in. Which then creates that lovely stretch. And here it's kind of like still wants to go out, but basically I favored this frame so that way on one frame it was going out, right? So it's like 1, 2, and then 3 is here, where it's just like barely starting to come back. By favoring that frame, I still have the sense of it's pulling right, but it's still finishing the stretch, and then I snap her back in. It's just like boink and see, because a nice little kind of subtle stretch. The pen settings. I use a smoothing of 33 or lower, and I use the second smallest brush. That's what I do. Thank you. Bonk and woo! Look at that. Isn't that nice? Bonk. Wee. There you go. Bop-doo. Let's do a no cam version of this. First, let's save it. Then we'll do a no cam render, and then we'll do a cam render, and then we'll do a small render. And then that will be that. And then next on the docket is I need to reboard the climax of this film, because I don't know if I'm happy with the previous one. Look at that. There we go. Alright, well, let's grab all these camera frames and clear them out. Clear. There we go. Let's grab this baby. I'm gonna make it nice and small. Make sure the paper is here in frame. Okay, do. Perfect. All right. Export movie. Scene 39, 17 underscore no cam. There we go, and this will actually be 18. So 339, 18. There we go. All right. Do you use similar smoothing settings in Storyboard Pro? No. Storyboard Pro. I don't know what smoothing setting. I'll have to double check that. I use very low smoothing though, for the most part. That might be a possibility, Daniel. The only problem is that like when I'm on Discord, I'm usually working on a variety of projects. So my ability to answer questions isn't the best. Like I can't guarantee I'll be around very much. I think people expect that like if they can get a hold of me on Discord that I'll be around to do things, and I'm usually off working most of the time. I'm currently running. Oh, let's take a look. See, finished one, so that's 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 projects currently in production. One I manage, 2 I direct, 1 I'm animating on. I'm working on the film, and then I have Powerhouse full time, which is 5 days a week, and then I have another pitch document that I'm working on, that I'm currently getting contracts written up for and setting aside some extra funding for, so I can get a deck built. Yeah, so plus my girlfriend's down here for another month or so, so I'm trying to make extra time for that as well. So I'm a busy dude, to say the least. Yeah, that's true. It could be, yeah. I mean, like, again, I'm very thankful that you guys are such talented artists and so professional with the way that you conduct yourselves. It makes my life a lot easier. India, you've been a fantastic director. You've gone above and beyond these projects, making new spreadsheets, doing the concept boards, talking well with the clients, hitting your deadlines. It was amazing. And you have an amazing crew that's producing one of the best projects from my Discord. You know, over the other one that Jen's working on, you know, she's produced some great boards for. I've got a talented group of animators, so my job as a director is pretty small on that one because they just take it from there. And then the last one, you know, I've got another one of my workmates who's helping out, so they're professional, and it's just, you know, so if this was with a bunch of people who weren't, you know, on time or weren't cooperative and nice and talented and doing good work, yeah, my job would be hard, but it's not that hard. So I can come in on the weekends, and for the most part I just go, yep, that's all good, check the schedule, make sure people are on time, and then that's about it. You know, do some drawovers, do some boards, that kind of stuff. So but July has definitely been tough, especially with, you know, trying to get work on the film, and then like 2 projects really kick off. The newest one obviously had its kickoff, and then the one that we're working on, me and you, India, we're trying to get that done by the end of the month, and it's like, that was definitely intense. It's a good bit of paper here. That's pretty good. So we'll do this. Okay, we're gonna make a small one now. Remove, boop, boop. Remove frames, file, export, movie, and this will be 18 small. And this will be the one that goes up on Twitter. So this is why I'll make like little tiny previews for people. There we go. Woo! All right. Well, folks, I think that might be it for my stream today. We are able to knock out all the paper animation in around 3.5 hours. I think that's pretty impressive. It's only around 300 frames worth of animation, but, you know, piece of paper, it's basically a moving square, so... Not as much detail as it was, you know, doing Emilio's body or cloth and all that kind of stuff. So thank you everybody for coming out. It has been a blast. And if you're on the Patreon, keep an eye out for a new post this week. Anytime. Alrighty. I'm gonna go get some food, and then yeah, I might work on some boards or something tonight. Bye.